Hello and welcome to Let's Talk SEO. So, after I made the previous video about the Google spam update and how the December update has worked, I showed you websites that were nailed, my assumption of why they were nailed. There was quite a bit of data over there, but there was some data that I did not share, and there was a reason behind that. And that was mainly because we were not entirely complete with the research that we were doing. So we went ahead, and now that we have all the data needed for this video, or you can think of this as more of a case study. Uh, I can answer the question whether Google spam update, especially the one in December, has the ability or has been deliberately targeting websites that have been engaging in spammy tactics. So in the previous video, we covered the websites that were engaged in spammy tactics that the Google spam update had nailed very hard. But then the next question was that isn't like AI content also spammy? And if that's the case, then does Google have the ability to detect AI content? And then if it detects that AI content, not only penalize that content, but also penalize that website. And so what we found was Google had actually de-indexed quite a few different sites that we were tracking. And interestingly, so the other interesting part is some of these websites were not engaged entirely. So all their pages were not AI generated, but a fair number were AI generated. So in this video, I'm going to show you the websites. I'm going to show you the data that we have so that you can decide whether or not you want to invest in AI content. Now, this is not just AI written content, but this is also AI images, AI video, that type of thing, because I see a lot of that now. And if that's something you're engaging in, that's entirely your choice, but it's important for me to provide you with the data needed to make that decision. I am now asking all my clients to just stay away from extensive AI use, especially if you don't have a human editor, you don't have someone that's editing your articles and making sure that they're factually correct, and then they shouldn't be just producing AI content. The TLDR of this video is that we found that 100% of the websites that had manual actions had signs of AI content on them. So in some cases, 7 out of 14 websites we analyzed had 90% of their articles were AI content. And these guys got manually hit. So 100% of websites had published AI content. 14 websites were de-indexed by Google and publicly shared had published AI content generated articles. 7 out of the 14 sites and around 90% AI generated articles. So that's half of the impacted websites mainly just had AI generated articles. So the presence of AI content in these websites that had manual action, these are websites that are broken down in terms of their DR, their domain authority as per Ahrefs. And you'll see that some of these websites, you probably recognize some of these. So you've got fresherslives.com, you've got GM Unite magazine. So weird names really, but they had quite a bit of TLDR. And here's the amount of AI generated content that were on these sites. So you could clearly see that, it's like the least amount of AI content out of the websites that were nailed was a tvguidetime.com. Out of these 14 sites, the list here, you can see most of them were engaging in heavy AI content. What we did was we identified sites that were de-indexed and whose URL had already been disclosed on X. So this is public domain knowledge. This is already out there. There are quite a few other articles that talk about this. So, I'm not hesitant to publish this list. So here's the list we have. There are 19 websites. We then scraped 100% of the most recent posts that were over like 100 words long. So what I did in order to make this affordable was to just scrape the pages that had between 400 and 600 words. So there were pages that were longer, but we can't pass every page through Originality AI or any other content checking program. Which I must also add that these content checking programs, they're not 100%, even though they have improved quite greatly. There are some that are better than others. But by and large, they're not like they're not 100%. And also, we don't know if Google is even using these tools. Okay, but to say that Google can detect AI content and Google is using these any one of these tools is just that's something that's not possible because we don't know how Google is detecting AI content. But there's a good chance that Google has a way to tell to a certain degree of success if a website is engaged in extensive AI content abuse. So the websites the websites we excluded, are publicly. Most people already know that these guys are using AI content, which includes JulianGoldie.com. This guy openly talks about making millions of dollars using AI content on his website. So there's no point really doing that. Out of curiosity, we found that only 10 of his pages are indexed, so we got a pretty large boot from Google. Then there's chipabird.com. We were not able to correctly parse content from the website, but the owner of the site publicly admits to using AI. Then we've got equityatlas.org. Again, we were not able to pull content from this site. Filmy Feed, again, not able to pull content from the site. The socialtalks.com, we were not able to get content from this site because the way it was set up is that we had to put in like a lot more effort to get past the system that actually made it impossible for us to copy and paste content from the pages. So we would have to use other more time-consuming methods, which didn't make sense because they already admitted to using AI content. What we did was we took these articles and we put every article through Originality AI, like I did uh, in one of my previous videos, and we did a complete analysis of the site. We tried to figure out, like, apart from using AI content, what else were these sites doing, if there are any other reasons for these sites getting nailed. So the question here is, was AI content to blame for these sites being de-indexed? Short answer to this is yes. Can I be 100% sure of this? No. I'm around maybe 70% sure of this. After analyzing close to 200 websites, not necessarily putting every website through Originality AI, but after analyzing around 200 websites and around 50,000 URLs, we figured out that many websites that had received a manual action from Google were engaged in heavy AI content use. So that was a given. With the March 5th update, Google de-indexed or almost 2% of the websites that we were tracking. The most popular ones were even using uh, advertising platforms like Exonic, MediaWine, Raptive. Some of these platforms like MediaWine have taken a proactive no AI approach. So, they actively check your content for AI. The problem is it's easy to bypass AI checkers. So they're probably, it's not a foolproof thing. Even if MediaLine is checking for AI content. So what we did here was, so we identified 200 websites that were getting the most traffic that were de-indexed. We identified 200 of the most recent articles of the site. We checked these articles for AI content. We used a few different checkers, including Originality AI. We also use some other ones that, like CopyScape, we use that as well. And there was another one my team used. I'm not sure exactly what it's called. So there were three or four different ones that we used. We eliminated websites that had less than 25 articles published because that's of no interest to us. And then we analyzed the pages that we were left with. Mainly, we're looking at, let's say articles that were published in the last or 2 months, because that means that Google has had enough time to crawl those articles. Also, there's a good chance that articles published in the last 2 months, those articles are AI generated, then there are other articles or previous articles that are also AI generated. So key findings here is 151 of the 175 websites that we analyzed had AI content on it. So there was a high likelihood of AI. Um, and this was something that even Originality AI, I think someone from Originality AI published this on Twitter. There were a huge number of these websites that were using AI. Out of the ones penalized, a very small percentage of those articles or those websites were not using AI content. So 51 of the same 175, 175 were using pure AI. And pure AI means that there was no human editing. They were just generating the articles, copying and pasting those articles. Some sites seem to have taken a mixed approach to both AI and human written content, while some are just blatantly just publishing AI content. So there were other similarities with the index sites, and I think it's worth mentioning. There was aggressive use of advertising, so pop-up ads, banner ads, and usually ones that are against Google's guidelines, which means that you have these ads that resize the page or resize the content of the page as they load. And that's very intrusive and that's bad for user experience. Then there were also sites that were content only. They served no purpose at all. They just had content on those pages. That could be also, even though these could be reasons why these websites were penalized, the likelihood of that of just these being the reasons are low. Is the amount of AI content normal? So we track quite a few different websites, including websites of my own and then my client sites, and then other websites of which I have absolutely no authority over. But the findings we have after the spam update, and especially the December core update and then the spam update, is that Google is trying to identify websites that are engaged in AI content abuse because that fits under their umbrella of scale content abuse. Uh, but still, a lot of this depends on the trust your domain has, the age of your domain, and the speed at which you're publishing content, and then the quality of that content. The other metrics is that people don't talk about, especially SEOs who should be talking about, is whether or not people are having a good experience on the website. If people are not having a good experience on the website, regardless of if you have human written content, your website isn't going to do well for very long. So this study is pretty much ongoing, and we are continuing to look at this mainly because as someone who runs an SEO agency, knowing this type of thing helps me decide and advise my clients whether or not they should be using AI content. And if they do use AI content, how much would be acceptable and how much of a risk they would be putting their website at. Um, if you have a service-based site and you're making money off your site, or if you're selling products on your site, I would highly advise against using AI content simply because of the risk and the fact that if you get penalized, you're literally losing your livelihood. If you're running a test website or if you have like an affiliate site that you've just started and you don't make a lot of money from it, or it's not monetized, or you're just playing around with it, then that's fine. Content is 100% fine. But I would strongly ask that people reconsider the advice they get from other SEOs, especially on YouTube, that ask them to generate hundreds and thousands of pages using AI content because they can make a lot of money doing it. So let me know in the comments below what you think about this. Also, let me know if you guys have been using AI content to scale your website and how much of a success that has been. Like and subscribe as always, and happy ranking.